Preface to the Cambridge Book of Poetry for Children, edited by Kenneth Grahame. This is the LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Leonard Wilson of Springfield, Ohio. The Cambridge Book of Poetry for Children by Kenneth Grahame. Preface. In compiling a selection of poetry for children, a conscientious editor is bound to find himself confronted with limitations so numerous as to be almost disheartening. For he has to remember that his task is not to provide simple examples of the whole range of English poetry, but to set up a wicket-gate, giving attractive admission to that wide domain, with its woodland glades, its pasture and arable, its walled and scented gardens here and there, and so to its sunlit and sometimes misty mountain-tops, all to be more fully explored later by those who are tempted on by the first glimpse. And always he must be proclaiming to the small tourists that there is joy, light, and fresh air in that delectable country. Briefly, I think that blank verse generally, and the drama as a whole, may very well be left for readers of a riper age. Indeed, I believe that those who can ignore the plays of Shakespeare and his fellow Elizabethans till they are 16 will be no losers in the long run. The bulk, too, of 17th and 18th century poetry, bending under its burden of classical form and crowded classical allusion, requires a completed education and a wide range of reading for its proper appreciation. Much else also is barred. There are the questions of subject, of archaic language and thought, and of vocational expression, which will occur to everyone. Then there is dialect, and here one has to remember that these poems are intended for use at the very time that a child is painfully acquiring a normal, often quite arbitrary, orthography. Is it fair to that child to hammer into him, perhaps literally, that porridge is spelt porridge, and next minute to present it to him in an official reader under the guise of parich? I think not, and I have accordingly kept as far as possible to the normal, though at some loss of material. In the output of those writers who have deliberately written for children, it is surprising how largely the subject of death is found to bulk. Dead fathers and mothers, dead brothers and sisters, dead uncles and aunts, dead puppies and kittens, dead birds, dead flowers, dead dolls. A compiler of obituary verse for the delight of children could make a fine fat volume with little difficulty. I have turned off this mournful tap of tears as far as possible, preferring that children should read of the joy of life, rather than revel in sentimental thrills of imagined bereavement. There exists, moreover, any quantity of verse for children which is merely verse, and nothing more. It lacks the vital spark of heavenly flame, and is useless to a selector of poetry. And then there is the whole corpus of verse, most of it of the present day, which is written about children, and this has even more carefully to be avoided. When the time comes that we send our parents to school, it will prove very useful to the compilers of their primers. All these restrictions have necessarily led to two results. First, that this collection is chiefly lyrical, and that, after all, is no bad thing. Lyric verse may not be representative of the whole range of English poetry, but as an introduction to it, as a wicket-gate, there is no better portal. The second result is that it is but a small sheaf that these gleanings amount to. But for those children who frankly do not care for poetry, it will be more than enough. And for those who love it and delight in it, no selection could ever be sufficiently satisfying. Kenneth Grahame, October 1915. End of preface. This recording is in the public domain.
Merry Are the Bells, read for LibriVox.org by Betty B. For the very smallest ones, rhymes and jingles. We begin with some jingles and old rhymes, for rhymes and jingles must not be despised. They have rhyme, rhythm, melody, and joy, and it is well for beginners to know that these are all elements of poetry, so that they will turn to it with pleasant expectations. Merry are the bells. Merry are the bells, and merry would they ring. Merry was myself, and merry could I sing, with a merry ding-dong, happy, gay, and free, and a merry sing-song, happy let us be. Waddle goes your gait, and hollow are your hose, noddle goes your pate, and purple is your nose. Merry is your sing-song, happy, gay, and free, with a merry ding-dong, happy let us be. Merry have we met, and merry have we been, merry let us part, and merry meet again, with our merry sing-song, happy, gay, and free. Safe in Bed, read for LibriVox.org by Betty B. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, bless the bed that I lay on. 4 corners to my bed, 5 angels there lie spread. To it Jenny Wren, read for LibriVox.org by Betty B. Jenny Wren fell sick upon a merry time. In came Robin Redbreast and brought her sops of wine. Eat well of the sop, Jenny, drink well of the wine. Thank you, Robin, kindly, you shall be mine. Jenny she got well, and stood upon her feet, and told Robin plainly she loved him not a bit. Robin, being angry, hopped on a twig. Curlylocks, read for LibriVox.org by Betty B. Curlylocks, wilt thou be mine? Thou shalt not wash dishes, nor yet feed the swine, but sit on a cushion and sew a fine Pussycat Mew, read for LibriVox.org by Betty B. Pussycat Mew jumped over a coal, and in her best petticoat burnt a great hole. Pussycat Mew Draw a Pail of Water, read for LibriVox.org by Betty B. Draw a pail of water for my lady's daughter. Father's a king, mother's a queen, my 2 little I saw a ship a-sailing. LibriVox.org by Betty B. I saw a ship a-sailing on the sea, and it was full of pretty things for baby and for me. There were sweetmeats in the cabin and apples in the hold. The sails were made of silk and the masts were made of gold. The 24 sailors that stood between the decks were 24 white mice with chains about their necks. The captain was a duck with a packet on his back, and when the Nut Tree. LibriVox.org by Betty B. I had a little nut tree, nothing would it bear but a silver nutmeg and a golden pear. The King of Spain's daughter, she came to see me, and all because of my little nut tree. I skipped over water, I danced over
My Maid Mary. Read for LibriVox.org by recording person. My Maid Mary. My Maid Mary, she minds the dairy, while I go a-hoeing and a-mowing each morn. Gaily run the reel and the little spinning. The Wind and the Fisherman. Read for LibriVox.org by recording person. The Wind and the Fisherman. When the wind is in the east, 'tis neither good for man or beast. When the wind is in the north, the skilful fisher goes not forth. When the wind is in the south, it blows the bait in the fish's mouth. Blow, wind, blow. Read for LibriVox.org by recording person. Blow, wind, blow. Blow, wind, blow, and go, mill, go, that the miller may grind his corn, that the baker may. All busy. Read for LibriVox.org by recording person. All busy. The cock's on the housetop blowing his horn, the bull's in the barn a threshing off corn.
Winter has come. Read for LibriVox.org by Damla Ozdemir. Cold and raw, the north wind doth blow, bleak in the morning early. Poor Robin. Read for LibriVox.org by Damla Ozdemir. The north wind doth blow, and we shall have snow, and what will poor Robin do then, poor thing? He'll sit in I have a little sister. Read for LibriVox.org by Damla Ozdemir. I have a little sister. They call her Peep Peep. She wades the waters deep, deep, deep. She climbs the mountains high, high, high. Poor little creature, she has
In Marble Walls. Read for LibriVox.org by a recording person. In Marble Walls. In marble walls, as white as milk, lined with a skin as soft as silk, within a fountain, crystal clear, a golden apple doth appear. No doors there are to this stronghold, The Moon by Eliza Lee Fol. Read for LibriVox.org by a recording person. The Moon. Oh, look at the moon. She is shining up there. Oh, mother, she looks like a lamp in the air. Last week she was smaller and shaped like a bow, but now she's grown bigger and round as an O. Pretty moon, how you shine on the door and make it all bright on my nursery floor. You shine on my playthings and show me their place, and I love to look up at your pretty bright face. And there is a star close by you and me. The Star by Anne and Jane Taylor. Read for LibriVox.org by a recording person. The Star. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are, up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. When the blazing sun is gone, when he nothing shines upon, then you show your little light, twinkle, twinkle, all the night. Then the traveller in the dark thanks you for your tiny spark. He could not see which way to go, if you did not twinkle so. In the dark blue sky you keep, and often through my curtains peep, for you never shut your eye till the sun is in the sky. As your bright and tiny spark lights the traveller in the dark, though I know
Kitty by Mrs. E. Prentiss. Read for LibriVox.org by Leonard Wilson of Springfield, Ohio. Once there was a little kitty, whiter than snow. In a barn she used to frolic, long time ago. In the barn a little mousie ran to and fro, for she heard the kitty coming, long time ago. 2 eyes had little kitty, black as a sloe, and they spied the little mousie, long time ago. 4 paws had little kitty, paws soft as dough, and they caught the little mousie, long time ago. 9 teeth had little kitty, all in a row, and they bit the little mousie, long time ago. When the teeth bit little mousie cried, "Oh!" But she got away from
Kitty, How to Treat Her. Read for LibriVox.org by Damla Ozdemir. I like little pussy. Her coat is so warm, and if I don't hurt her, she'll do me no harm. So I'll not pull her tail, nor drive her away. Kitty, What She Thinks of Herself by W. B. Rands. Read for LibriVox.org by Damla Ozdemir. I am the cat of cats. I am the everlasting cat. cunning and old and sleek as jam, the everlasting cat. I hunt the vermin in the night, the everlasting cat, for I see best without the light. The Seashell by Amy Lowe. Read for LibriVox.org by Damla Ozdemir. Seashell, seashell, sing me a song, oh please! A song of ships and sailormen, of parrots and tropical trees, of islands lost in the Spanish main, which no man ever may see again, of fishes and corals under the waves, and sea-horses stabled in great green caves. The Cuckoo. Read for LibriVox.org by Damla Ozdemir. The cuckoo's a bonny bird. She sings as she flies. She brings us good tidings and tells us no lies. She sucks little birds' eggs to make her voice clear and never cries. The Bird Scarer's Song. Read for LibriVox.org by Damla Ozdemir. We've ploughed our land, we've sown our seed, we've made all neat and gay. Cradle Song. Read for LibriVox.org by Damla Ozdemir. Sleep, baby, sleep, our cottage vale is deep. The little lamb is on the green, with woolly fleece so soft and clean. Sleep, baby, sleep. Sleep, baby, sleep, down where the woodbines creep. Be always like the lamb so mild, a kind and sweet.
Good Night by Anne and Jane Taylor. Read for LibriVox.org by Phil Schempf. Little baby, lay your head on your pretty cradle bed. Shut your eye peeps, now the day and the light are gone away. All the clothes are tucked in tight. Little baby dear, good night. Yes, my darling, well I know how bitter the wind doth blow, and the winter's snow and rain patter on the window pane, but they cannot come in here to my little baby dear. For the window shutteth fast till the stormy night is past, and the curtains warm are spread round about her cradle bed, so till morn.
Daffodils by Shakespeare. Read for LibriVox.org by Leonard Wilson of Springfield, Ohio. Daffodils that come before the swallow dares, To Daffodils by Robert Herric. Read for LibriVox.org by Leonard Wilson of Springfield, Ohio. Fair daffodils, we weep to see you haste away so soon. As yet the early rising sun has not attained his noon. Stay, stay, until the hasting day has run but to the evensong, and having prayed together, we will go with you along. We have short time to stay as you, we have as short a spring, as quick a growth to meet decay as you or anything. We die as your hours do, and dry away like to the summer's rain, or as the pearls of morning's dew.
Daffodils by William Wordsworth. Read by Lynn Thompson. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high o'er vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. Continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, they stretched in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. For oft, when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure fills, and dances.
The Months by Sara Coleridge. Read for LibriVox.org by Betty B. The Months. January brings the snow, makes our feet and fingers glow. February brings the rain, thaws the frozen lake again. March brings breezes loud and shrill, stirs the dancing daffodil. April brings the primrose sweet, scatters daisies at our feet. May brings flocks of pretty lambs, skipping by their fleecy dams. June brings tulips, lilies, roses, fills the children's hands with posies. Hot July brings cooling showers, apricots and gillyflowers. August brings the sheaves of corn, then the harvest home is born. Warm September brings the fruit, sportsmen then begin to shoot. Fresh October brings the pheasant, then to gather nuts is pleasant. Dull November brings the blast, then the leaves are whirling fast. Chill December brings the sleet, blazing fire and Christmas treat. The Wind in a Frolic by William Howitt. Read for LibriVox.org by Betty B. The Wind in a Frolic. The wind one morning sprang up from sleep, saying, "Now for a frolic, now for a leap, now for a madcap galloping chase, I'll make a commotion in every place." So it swept with a bustle right through a great town, creaking the signs and scattering down shutters and whisking with merciless squalls old women's bonnets and gingerbread stalls. There never was heard a much lustier shout, as the apples and oranges trundled about, and the urchins that stand with their thievish eyes forever on watch ran off each with a prize. Then away to the field it went blustering and humming, and the cattle all wondered whatever was coming. It plucked by their tails the grave matronly cows, and tossed the colts' manes all about their brows, till, offended at such a familiar salute, they all turned their backs and stood sullenly mute. So on it went, capering and playing its pranks, whistling with reeds on the broad river's banks, puffing the birds as they sat on the spray, or the traveller grave on the king's highway. It was not too nice to hustle the bags of the beggar and flutter his dirty rags. 'Twas so bold that it feared not to play its joke with the doctor's wig or the gentleman's cloak. Through the forest it roared and cried gaily, "Now, you sturdy old oaks, I'll make you bow." And it made them bow without much ado, or it cracked their great branches through and through. Then it rushed like a monster on cottage and farm, striking their dwellers with sudden alarm, and they ran out like bees in a midsummer swarm. There were dames with their kerchiefs tied over their caps, to see if their poultry were free from mishaps. The turkeys they gobbled, the geese screamed aloud, and the hens crept to roost in a terrified crowd. There was rearing of ladders and logs laying on, where the thatch from the roof threatened soon to be gone. But the wind had passed on, and had met in a lane with a schoolboy who panted and struggled in vain, for it tossed him and twirled him, then passed, and he stood with his hat in a pool and his shoe in the mud. But away went the wind in its holiday glee, and now it was far on the billowy sea, and the lordly ships felt its staggering blow, and the little boats darted to and fro. But lo! it was night, and it sank to rest on the sea-bird's rock in the gleaming west, laughing to think in its fearful fun how little of mischief The 4 Sweet Months by Robert Herric. read.for.LibriVox.org by Betty B. The 4 Sweet Months. First April, she with mellow showers opens the way for early flowers. Then after her comes smiling May, in a more sweet and rich array. Next enters June, and brings us more gems than those 2 that went before. Then lastly July comes, and she more
Glad Day by W. Graham Robertson. read.for.LibriVox.org by Phil Shempf. Here's another day, dear. Here's the sun again, peeping in his pleasant way through the window pane. Rise and let him in, dear. Hail him, hip hooray! Now the fun will all begin. Here's another day. Down the coppice path, dear, through the dewy glade, when the morning took her bath, what a splash she made! Up the wet wood way, dear, under dripping green, run to meet another day, brightest ever seen. Mushrooms in the field, dear, show their silver gleam. What a dainty crop they yield, firm as clouted cream. Cool as balls of snow, dear, sweet and fresh and round. Ere the early dew can go, we must clear the ground. Such a lot to do, dear, such a lot to see. How we ever can get through fairly puzzles me. Hurry up and out, dear, then away, away.
Buttercups and Daisies by Mary Howitt. read.for.LibriVox.org by Damla Ozdemir. Buttercups and daisies, oh, the pretty flowers, coming ere the springtime to tell of sunny hours. When the trees are leafless, when the fields are bare, buttercups and daisies spring up here and there. Welcome, yellow buttercups, welcome, daisies white, ye are in my spirit, visioned, a delight. Coming ere the springtime of sunny hours to tell
The Merry Month of March by William Wordsworth. Read for LibriVox.org by Leonard Wilson of Springfield, Ohio. The cock is crowing, the stream is flowing, the small birds twitter, the lake doth glitter. The green field sleeps in the sun, the oldest and youngest are at work with the strongest. The cattle are grazing, their heads never raising, there are 40, feeding like one. Like an army defeated, the snow hath retreated, and now doth fare ill on the top of the bare hill. The ploughboy is whooping, anon, anon, there's joy in the mountains, there's life in the fountains. Small clouds are sailing, blue sky prevailing.
What the Birds Say by S.T. Coleridge. Read for LibriVox.org by Phil Shempf. Do you know what the birds say? The sparrow, the dove, the linnet, and the thrush say, I love, and I love. In the winter they're silent. The wind is so strong. What it says I don't know, but it sings a loud song. But green leaves and blossoms, and sunny warm weather, and singing and loving all come back together. But the lark is so brimful of gladness and love, the green fields below him, the blue sky above, that he sings, and forever sings he.
Spring's Procession by Sidney Dobell. Read for LibriVox.org by Leonard Wilson of Springfield, Ohio. First came the primrose on the bank high, like a maiden looking forth from the window of a tower when the battle rolls below. So looked she, and saw the storms go by. Then came the windflower in the valley left behind, as a wounded maiden, pale with purple streaks of woe, when the battle has rolled by, wanders to and fro. So tottered she, dishevelled in the wind. Then came the daisies on the 1st of May, like a bannered show's advance, while the crowd runs by the way. With 10,000 flowers about them, they came trooping through the fields. As a happy people come, so came they. As a happy people come when the war has rolled away, with dance and tabor, pipe and drum, and all make holiday. Then came the cowslip, like a dancer in the fair. She spread her little mat of green, and on it danced she, with a fillet bound about her brow, a fillet round her happy brow, a golden fillet round her brow.
The Call of the Woods by Shakespeare, recorded for LibriVox.org by Jude. Under the greenwood tree, who loves to lie with me, and tune his merry note unto the sweet bird's throat. Come hither, come hither, come hither. Here shall he see no enemy but winter and rough weather, who doth ambition shun, and loves to live in the sun, seeking the food he eats, and pleased with what he gets. Come hither, come hither, come hither. Here shall he see no enemy
A Prescription for a Spring Morning by John Davidson. Read for LibriVox by Victoria Kahn. At early dawn through London you must go, until you come where long black hedgerows grow, with pink buds pearled, with here and there a tree, and gates and stiles, and watch good country folk, and scent the spicy smoke of withered weeds that burn where gardens be, and in a ditch perhaps a primrose see. The rooks shall stalk the plough, larks mount the skies, blackbirds and speckled thrushes sing aloud, hid in the warm white cloud. Mantling the horn, and far away shall rise the milky low of cows and farmyard cries. From windy heavens the climbing sun shall shine, and February greet you like a maid in russet cloak arrayed, and you shall take her for your mistress fine.
The Country Faith by Norman Gale, recorded for LibriVox.org by Jude. Here in the country's heart, where the grass is green, life is the same sweet life as it e'er hath been. Trust in a God still lives, and the bell at morn floats with a thought of God o'er the rising corn. God comes down in the rain, and the crop grows tall. This is the country faith.
The Butterfly's Ball by William Roscoe, read for LibriVox.org by Leonard Wilson of Springfield, Ohio. Come, take up your hats, and away let us haste to the butterfly's ball and the grasshopper's feast. The trumpeter Gadfly has summoned the crew, and the revels are now only waiting for you. So said little Robert, and pacing along, his merry companions came forth in a throng, and on the smooth grass by the side of a wood, beneath a broad oak that for ages had stood, saw the children of earth and the tenants of air for an evening's amusement together repair. And there came the beetle, so blind and so black, who carried the emmet, his friend, on his back. And there was the gnat and the dragonfly, too, with all their relations, green, orange, and blue. And there came the moth, with his plumage of down, and the hornet in jacket of yellow and brown, who with him the wasp, his companion, did bring, but they promised that evening to lay by their sting. And the sly little dormouse crept out of his hole, and brought to the feast his blind brother, the mole. And the snail, with his horns peeping out of his shell, came from a great distance, the length of an ell. A mushroom their table, and on it was laid a water-dock leaf, which a tablecloth made. The viands were various to each of their taste, and the bee brought her honey to crown the repast. Then close on his haunches, so solemn and wise, the frog from a corner looked up to the skies, and the squirrel, well pleased such diversions to see, mounted high overhead and looked down from a tree. Then out came the spider, with fingers so fine to show his dexterity on the tight line. From one branch to another his cobwebs he slung, then quick as an arrow he darted along. But just in the middle, oh, shocking to tell, from his rope in an instant poor Harlequin fell. Yet he touched not the ground, but with talons outspread, hung suspended in air at the end of a thread. Then the grasshopper came with a jerk and a spring. Very long was his leg, though but short was his wing. He took but 3 leaps, and was soon out of sight, then chirped his own praises the rest of the night. With steps so majestic the snail did advance, and promised the gazers a minuet to dance. But they all laughed so loud that he pulled in his head, and went in his own little chamber to bed. Then, as evening gave way to the shadows of night, their watchman, the glowworm, came out with a light. "Then home let us hasten while yet we can see, for no watchman is waiting for you and for me." So said little Robert, and pacing along his merry
A Wish by Samuel Rogers. Read for LibriVox by Victoria Kahn. Mine be a cot beside the hill, a beehive's hum shall soothe my ear, a willowy brook that turns a mill, with many a fall shall linger near. The swallow oft beneath my thatch shall twitter from her clay-built nest. Oft shall the pilgrim lift the latch, and share my meal, a welcome guest. Around my ivied porch shall spring each fragrant flower that drinks the dew, and Lucy at her wheel shall sing in russet gown and apron blue. The village church among the trees, where first our marriage vows were given, with merry peals shall swell the breeze, and point with taper
Wishing by William Allingham. Read for LibriVox.org by recording person. Wishing. Ring ting, I wish I were a primrose, a bright yellow primrose blowing in the spring. The stooping boughs above me, the wandering bee to love me, the fern and moss to creep across, and the elm tree for our king. Nay, stay, I wish I were an elm tree, a great lofty elm tree with green leaves gay. The winds would set them dancing, the sun and moonshine glancing, the birds would house among the boughs and sweetly sing. Oh no, I wish I were a robin or a little wren, everywhere to go, through forest, field, or garden, and ask no leave or pardon, till winter comes with icy thumbs to ruffle up our wing. Well, tell, where should I fly to? Where to go to sleep in the dark wood or dell? Before a day was over, here comes the rover. Bunches of Grapes by Walter Rammel. Read for LibriVox.org by recording person. Bunches of grapes. Bunches of grapes, says Timothy. Pomegranates pink, says Elaine. A junket of cream and a cranberry tart for me, says Jane. Love in a mist, says Timothy. Primroses pale, says Elaine. A nosegay of pinks and a mignonette for me, says Jane. Chariots of gold, says Timothy. Silvery wings, says Elaine.
Contentment by Eugene Fie. Read for LibriVox.org by Leonard Wilson of Springfield, Ohio. Once on a time an old red hen went strutting round with pompous clucks, for she had little babies 10, a part of which were tiny ducks. "'Tis very rare that hens," said she, "have baby ducks as well as chicks, but I possess, as you can see, of chickens 4 and ducklings 6. A season later this old hen appeared, still cackling of her luck, for though she boasted babies 10, not one among them was a duck. "'Tis well," she murmured, brooding o'er the little chicks of fleecy down, "my babies now will stay ashore, and consequently cannot drown." The following spring the old red hen clucked just as proudly as of yore, but lo, her babes were ducklings 10, instead of chickens as before. "'Tis better," said the old red hen, as she surveyed her waddling brood. "A little water now and then will surely do my darlings good." But oh, alas, how very sad, when gentle spring rolled round again, the eggs eventuated bad, and childless was the old red hen. Yet patiently she bore her woe, and still she wore a cheerful air, and said, "'Tis best these things are so, for babies are a dreadful care." I half suspect that many men, and many women too, could learn a lesson from the hen with plumage of vermilion hue. She ne'er presumed to take offence at any fate that might befall, but meekly bowed to Providence. She
The Land of Storybooks by R.L. Stevenson. Read for LibriVox.org by Damla Ozdemir. At evening, when the lamp is lit, around the fire my parents sit. They sit at home and talk and sing, and do not play at anything. Now, with my little gun, I crawl all in the dark along the wall, and follow round the forest track, away behind the sofa back. There, in the night, where none can spy, all in my hunter's camp I lie, and play at books that I have read, till it is time to go to bed. These are the hills, these are the woods, these are my starry solitudes, and there the river by whose brink the roaring lions come to drink. I see the others far away, as if in firelight camp they lay, and I, like to an Indian scout, around their party prowled about. So when my nurse comes in for me, home I return across the sea, and go to bed with backward look.
Sandcastles by W. Graham Robertson. Read for LibriVox.org by Phil Schempf. Build me a castle of sand down by the sea. Here on the edge of the strand, build it for me. How shall a foeman invade? Where may he land? While we can raise with our spade castles of sand. Turrets upleap and aspire, battlements rise, sweeping the sea with their fire, storming the skies. Pile that a monarch might own, mightily planned. I can't sit here on a throne, this is too grand. Build me a cottage of sand up on the hill. Snug in a cleft it must stand, sunny and still. Plant it with ragwort and ling, bramble and bine. Castles I'll leave to the king, this shall be mine. Storm clouds drive over the land, high flies the spray. Gone are our houses of sand, vanished away. Look at the damage you've done, sea wave and rain. Nay,
Ring o' Roses by W. Graham Robertson. Read for LibriVox.org by Damla Ozdemir. Hush a while, my darling, for the long day closes, nodding into slumber on the blue hill's crest. See the little clouds play ring o' roses, planting fairy gardens in the red rose west. Greet him for us, cloudlets. Say we're not forgetting golden gifts of sunshine, merry hours of play. Ring o' roses round the sweet sun setting, spread a bed of roses for the dear dead day. Hush-a-bye, my little one, the dear day dozes, doffed his crown of kingship and his fair flag furled, while the earth and sky play ring o' roses, ring o'
Blynken, Blynken and Nod by Eugene Fie. Read for LibriVox.org by Leonard Wilson of Springfield, Ohio. Blynken, Blynken and Nod one night sailed off in a wooden shoe, sailed on a river of crystal light into a sea of dew. "Where are you going, and what do you wish?" the old moon asked the three. "We have come to fish for the herring fish that live in this beautiful sea. Nets of silver and gold have we," said Blynken, Blynken and Nod. The old moon laughed and sang a song as they rocked in the wooden shoe, and the wind that sped them all night long ruffled the waves of dew. The little stars were the herring fish that lived in that beautiful sea. "Now cast your nets wherever you wish, never afeard are we." So cried the stars to the fishermen three, Blynken, Blynken and Nod. All night long their nets they threw to the stars in the twinkling foam. Then down from the skies came the wooden shoe, bringing the fishermen home. 'Twas all so pretty a sail it seemed as if it could not be, and some folks thought 'twas a dream they dreamed of sailing that beautiful sea. But I shall name you the fishermen three, Blynken, Blynken and Nod. Blynken and Blynken are two little eyes, and Nod is a little head, and the wooden shoe that sailed the skies is a wee one's trundle bed. So shut your eyes while mother sings of wonderful sights that be, and you shall see the beautiful things as you rock in the misty sea, where the old shoe rocked the fishermen three. Blynken. The Drummer Boy and the Shepherdess by W. B. Rands. Read for LibriVox.org by Leonard Wilson of Springfield, Ohio. Drummer boy, where is your drum? And why do you weep, sitting here on your thumb? The soldiers are out, and the fifes we can hear, but where is the drum of the young grenadier? My dear little drum, it was stolen away whilst I was asleep on a sunshiny day. It was all through the drone of a big bumblebee, and sheep and a shepherdess under a tree. Shepherdess, shepherdess, where is your crook? And why is your little lamb over the brook? It bleats for its dam, and dog Tray is not by. So why do you stand with a tear in your eye? My dear little crook, it was stolen away, whilst I dreamt a dream on a morning in May. It was all through the drone of a big bumblebee. The Land of Dreams by William Blake. Read for LibriVox.org by Leonard Wilson of Springfield, Ohio. Awake, awake, my little boy! Thou wast thy mother's only joy. Why dost thou weep in thy gentle sleep? Awake, thy father doth thee keep. Oh, what land is the land of dreams? What are its mountains, and what are its streams? Oh, father, I saw my mother there among the lilies by waters fair. Dear child, I also by pleasant streams have wandered all night in the land of dreams. But though calm and warm the waters wide, I could not get to the other side. Father, oh, father, what do we here in this land of unbelief and fear? The land of dreams is better far above. Sweet and Low by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Read for LibriVox.org by Leonard Wilson of Springfield, Ohio. Sweet and low, wind of the western sea. Low, low, breathe and blow, wind of the western sea. Over the rolling waters go, come from the dying moon and blow, blow him again to me. While my little one, while my pretty one sleeps. Sleep and rest, sleep and rest. Father will come to thee soon. Rest, rest on mother's breast. Father will come to thee soon. Father will come to his babe in the nest. Silver sails all out of the west, under the silver moon. Sleep, my little one, sleep. Cradle Song by Sir Walter Scott. Read for LibriVox.org by Leonard Wilson of Springfield, Ohio. Oh, hush thee, my baby, thy sire was a knight, thy mother a lady, both lovely and bright. The woods and the glens from the towers which we see, they all are belonging, dear baby, to thee. Oh, fear not the bugle, though loudly it blows. It calls but the warders that guard thy repose. Their bows would be bended, their blades would be red, ere the step of a foeman draws near to thy bed. Oh, hush thee, my baby, The time will soon come when thy sleep shall be broken by trumpet and drum. Then hush thee, my darling, take rest while you may, for strife comes with manhood. My Mother and I, by Eugene Fie, read for LibriVox.org by Leonard Wilson of Springfield, Ohio. Oh, mother, my love, if you'll give me your hand, and go where I ask you to wander, I will lead you away to a beautiful land, the dreamland that's waiting out yonder. We'll walk in a sweet posy garden out there, where moonlight and starlight are streaming, and the flowers and the birds are filling the air with the fragrance and music of dreaming. There'll be no little tired-out boy to undress, no questions or cares to perplex you. There'll be no little bruises or bumps to caress, nor patching of stockings to vex you. For I'll rock you away on a silver dew stream, and sing you asleep when you're weary, and no one shall know of our beautiful dream but you and your own little dearie. And when I am tired, I'll nestle my head in the bosom that soothed me so often, and the wide-awake stars shall sing in my stead a song which our dreaming shall soften. So, mother, my love, let me take your dear hand, and away through the starlight we'll wander, away through the mist to the beautiful land, the dreamland.
The Fairies by William Allingham. Read for LibriVox.org. Up the airy mountain, down the rushy glen, we daren't go a-hunting for fear of little men. Wee folk, good folk, trooping all together, green jacket, red cap, and white owl's feather. Down along the rocky shore some make their home. They live on crispy pancakes of yellow tide foam. Some in the reeds of the black mountain lake, with frogs for their watchdogs, all night awake. High up on the hilltop the old king sits. He is now so old and grey, he's nigh lost his wits. With a bridge of white mist Columkill he crosses, on his stately journeys from Sleeve-league to Roses, or going up with music on cold starry nights to sup with the queen of the gay northern lights. They stole little Bridget for 7 years long. When she came down again, her friends were all gone. They took her lightly back between the night and morrow. They thought that she was fast asleep, but she was dead with sorrow. They have kept her ever since, deep within the lakes, on a bed of flag leaves, watching till she wakes. By the craggy hillside, through the mosses bare, they have planted thorn trees for pleasure here and there. Is any man so daring as dig one up in spite? He shall find their sharpest thorns in his bed at night. Up the airy mountain, down the rushy glen, we daren't go a-hunting for fear of little men. Wee folk, good folk, trooping all together. Shakespeare's Fairies by Shakespeare, read.for/LibriVox.org. Some of them. Ye elves of hills, brooks, standing lakes and groves, and ye that on the sands with printless foot do chase the ebbing Neptune, and do fly him when he comes back, you demi-puppets, that by moonshine do the green, sour ringlets make, whereof the ewe not bites, and you whose pastime is to make midnight mushrooms, that rejoice to hear the solemn curfew. They dance and play. Come unto these yellow sands, and then take hands, curtsied when you have, and kissed the wild waves whist, footed featly here and there, and, sweet sprites, the burden bear. Hark, hark, bow wow, the watchdogs bark. Bow wow, hark, hark, I hear the strain of strutting chanticleer cry cock-a-doodle-doe. Ariel sings, where the bee sucks, there suck I, and a cowslip bell I lie. There I couch when owls do cry, on the bat's back I do fly. After summer merrily, 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 shall I live now, under the blossom that hangs on the bough. A busy one. Over hill, over dale, thorough bush, thorough briar, over park, over pale, thorough flood, thorough fire, I do wander everywhere, swifter than the moon's sphere, and I serve the fairy queen, to dew her orbs upon the green. The cowslips tall her pensioners be, and their gold coats spot you see. Those be rubies, fairy favours, in those freckles live their savours. I must go seek some dewdrops here, and hang a pearl in every cowslip's ear. They sing their queen to sleep. You spotted snakes with double tongue, thorny hedgehogs, be not seen. Newts and blindworms, do no wrong, come not near our fairy queen. Philomel with melody, sing in our sweet lullaby. Lulla, lulla, lullaby, lulla, lulla, lullaby. Never harm, nor spell nor charm, come our lovely lady nigh. So good night with lullaby. Weaving spiders, come not here. Hence, you long-legged spinners, hence. Beetles black, approach not near. Worm nor snail, do no offence. Philomel with melody, sing in our sweet lullaby. Lulla, lulla, lullaby, lulla, lulla, lullaby. Never harm, nor spell nor charm, come our lovely lady nigh. So good night with lullaby. Footnote: demi-puppets, half the size of a doll. Whist, silent. Featly, neatly, elegantly. The Lavender Beds by W. B. Rands. read.for/LibriVox.org. The garden was pleasant with old-fashioned flowers. The sunflowers and hollyhocks stood up like towers. There were dark turncap lilies and jessamine rare, and sweet thyme and marjoram scented the air. The moon made the sun-dial tell the time wrong. 'Twas too late in the year for the nightingale song. The box-trees were clipped, and the alleys were straight, till you came to the shrubbery hard by the gate. The fairy stepped out of the lavender beds, with mob caps or wigs on their quaint little heads. My lord had a sword, and my lady a fan. The music struck up, and the dancing began. I watched them go through with a grave minuet. Wherever they footed, the dew was not wet. They bowed and they curtsied, the brave and the fair, and laughter, like chirping of crickets, was there. Then all on a sudden a church clock struck loud. A flutter, a shiver, was seen in the crowd. The cock crew, the wind woke, the trees tossed their heads. Farewell to the Fairies by Richard Corbett, read for LibriVox.org. Farewell, rewards and fairies, good housewives now may say, for now foul sluts and diaries do fare as well as they, and though they sweep their hearths no less than maids were wont to do, yet who of late, for cleanliness, finds sixpence in her shoe? At morning and at evening both, you merry were and glad, so little care of sleep or sloth those pretty ladies had. When Tom came home from labour, or Cis to milking rose, then merrily went their tabor, and nimbly went their toes. Witness those rings and roundelays of theirs which yet remain, were footed in Queen Mary's days on many a grassy plain. But since of late Elizabeth and later James came in, they never dance on any heath. And when the time hath been, by which we note the fairies were of the old profession, their songs were of Ave Maries, their dances were procession. But now, alas, they all are dead, or gone beyond the seas, or farther for religion fled, or else they take their ease. A tell-tale in their company they never could endure, and whoso kept not secretly their mirth was punished sure. It was a just and Christian deed to pinch such black and blue. Oh, how the Dirge on the Death of Oberon, the Fairy King, by G. W. Thornberry. Read for LibriVox.org. Toll the lilies' silver bells, Oberon, the king, is dead. In her grief the crimson rose all her velvet leaves has shed. Toll the lilies' silver bells, Oberon is dead and gone, he who looked an emperor when his glow-worn crown was on. Toll the lilies' silver bells, slay the dragonfly, his steed, dig his grave within the ring of mushrooms in the mead. But he wasn't dead really. Kilmeny by James Hogg, read for LibriVox.org. A story about one who went there. Bonny Kilmeny gaed up the glen, but it wasna to meet Dunera's men, nor the rosy monk of the isle to see, for Kilmeny was pure as pure could be. It was only to hear the yorlin sing, and pull the blue cress flower round the spring, to pull the hip and the hindberry, and the nut that hung frae the hazel tree. For Kilmeny was pure as pure could be, but lang may her minnie look o'er the wa', and lang may she see in the greenwood shaw, lang the laird o' Dunera blame, and lang greet, ere Kilmeny come hame. Then many a day had come and fled, when grief grew calm and hope was dead, when mass for Kilmeny's soul had been sung, when the bedesman had prayed and the dead bell rung. Late, late in the gloaming, when all was still, when the fringe was red on the Westland hill. The wood was sere, the moon i' the wane, the reek of the cot hung o'er the plain, like a little wee cloud in the world's its lane, when the ingle lowe'd with an eerie gleam. Late, late in the gloamin', Kilmeny came hame. Kilmeny, Kilmeny, where have you been? Lang hae we sought baith holt and dean, by linn, by ford, by greenwood tree, yet you are halesome and fair to see. What gate you that jupe of lily sheen, that bonny snood of the birk sae green, and these roses, the fairest that were ever seen? Kilmeny, Kilmeny, where have you been? Kilmeny looked up with a lovely grace, but nae smile was seen on Kilmeny's face, as still was her look, and as still was her ee, as the stillness that lay on the emerald lea, or the mist that sleeps on the waveless sea. For Kilmeny had been she knew not where, and Kilmeny had seen what she could not declare. Kilmeny had been where the cock never crew, where the rain never fell, and the wind never blew, but it seemed as the harp of the sky had rung, and the airs of heavenly played round her tongue, when she spake of the lovely form she had seen, and a land where sin had never been, a land of love, and a land of light, withouten sun, or moon, or night, the land of vision it would seem, and still an everlasting dream. They lifted Kilmeny, they led her away, and she walked in the light of a sunless day. The sky was a dome of crystal bright, the fountain of vision and fountain of light. The emerald fields were of dazzling glow, and the flowers of everlasting blow. Then deep in the stream her body lay laid, that her youth and beauty might never fade. And they smiled on heaven when they saw her lie in the stream of life that wandered by. And she heard a song, she heard it sung, she kenned not where, but so sweetly it rung. It fell on the ear like a dream of the morn. O blessed be the day Kilmeny was born. To sing of the sights Kilmeny saw, so far surpassing nature's law, the singer's voice would sink away, and the string of his harp would cease to play. But she saw till the sorrows of man were by, and all was love and harmony, till the stars of heaven fell calmly away, like the flakes of snow on a winter day. When 7 lang years had come and fled, when grief was calm and hope was dead, when scarce was remembered Kilmeny's name, late, late in a gloaming Kilmeny came hame. And oh, her beauty was fair to see, but still and steadfast was her ee. Her simar was the lily flower, and her cheek the moss rose in the shower, and her voice like the distant melody that floats along the twilight sea. But she loved to rake the lanely glen, and keep it away frae the haunts of men, her holy hymns unheard to sing, to suck the flowers and drink the spring. But wherever her peaceful form appeared, the wild beasts of the hill were cheered. The wolf played blithely round the field, the lordly bison lowed and kneeled, the dun deer wooed with manner bland, and cowered aneath her lily hand, and all in a peaceful ring were hurled. It was like an eve in a sinless world, when a mouth and a day had come and gane. Kilmeny sought the greenwood wene, there laid her down on the leaves sae green, and Kilmeny on earth was never mair seen. Footnote: Gade, went. Yorlin, yellow hammer. Hindberry, wild raspberry, Minnie, mother, Greet, weep, Westlin, western, Reek, smoke, Islane, alone, Ingle, fire, Load, flamed, Lynn, waterfall, Jupe, bodice, Snood, hair ribbon, Burke, birch, Seymour,
A Boy's Song by James Hogg. Read for LibriVox.org by Recording Person. A Boy's Song. Where the pools are bright and deep, where the grey trout lies asleep, up the river and over the lea, that's the way for Billy and me. Where the blackbird sings the latest, where the hawthorn blooms the sweetest, where the nestlings chirp and flee, that's the way for Billy and me. Where the mowers mow the cleanest, where the hay lies thick and greenest, there to track the homeward bee, that's the way for Billy and me. Where the hazel bank is steepest, where the shadow falls the deepest, where the clustering nuts fall free, that's the way for Billy and me. Why the boys should drive away little sweet maidens from the play, or love to banter and fight so well, that's the thing I never could tell. But this I know, I love to play through the meadow among the hay. A Girl's Song by Thomas Moore. Read for LibriVox.org by Recording Person. A Girl's Song. There's a bower of roses by Bendemeer stream, and the nightingale sings round it all the day long. In the time of my childhood 'twas like a sweet dream to sit in the roses and hear the bird's song. That bower and its music I never forget, but oft when alone in the bloom of the year, I think, is the nightingale singing there yet? Are the roses still bright by the calm Bendemeer? No, the roses soon withered that hung over the wave, but some blossoms were gathered while freshly they shone, and a dew was distilled from their flowers that gave all the fragrance of summer when summer was gone. Thus memory draws from delight ere it dies, an essence that breathes of it many a year, thus bright to my soul as 'twas then to my eyes.
Three Things to Remember by William Blake. Read for LibriVox.org by Leonard Wilson of Springfield, Ohio. A robin redbreast in a cage puts all heaven in a rage. A skylark wounded on the wing doth make a cherub cease to sing. He who shall hurt the little wren shall. The Knight of Bethlehem by H.N. Maum. Read for LibriVox.org by Leonard Wilson of Springfield, Ohio. There was a knight of Bethlehem whose wealth was tears and sorrows. His men-at-arms were little lambs, his trumpeters were sparrows. His castle was a wooden cross, on which he hung so high. His helmet was a crown of thorns. The Lamb by William Blake. Read for LibriVox.org by Leonard Wilson of Springfield, Ohio. Little lamb, who made thee? Dost thou know who made thee? Gave thee life, and bade thee feed by the stream and o'er the mead, gave thee clothing of delight, softest clothing, woolly, bright, gave thee such a tender voice, making all the vales rejoice. Little lamb, who made thee? Dost thou know who made thee? Little lamb, I'll tell thee. Little lamb, I'll tell thee. He is called by thy name, for he calls himself a lamb. He is meek, and he is mild. He became a little child. I a child, and thou a lamb. We are called by his name. Little lamb, God bless thee. Little lamb.
The Tiger by William Blake. Read by Lynn Thompson. Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forest of the night, what immortal hand or eye framed thy fearful symmetry? In what distant deeps or skies burned that fire within thine eyes? On what wings dared he aspire? What the hand dared seize the fire? And what shoulder and what art could twist the sinews of thy heart? When thy heart began to beat, what dread hand formed thy dread feet? What the hammer, what the chain, knit thy strength and forged thy brain? What the anvil, what dead grasp dared thy deadly terrors clasp? When the stars threw down their spears, and watered heaven with their tears, did he smile his work to see? Did he who made the lamb?
I Had a Dove by John Keats. Read for LibriVox.org by Damla Ozdemir. I had a dove, and the sweet dove died, and I have thought it died of grieving. Oh, what could it grieve for? Its feet were tied with a silken thread of my own hands weaving. Sweet little red feet, why should you die? Why would you leave me, sweet bird, why? You lived alone in the forest tree, why, pretty thing, would you not live with me? I kissed you oft, and gave you white peas, why not live sweetly?
Robin Redbreast by William Allingham. Read for LibriVox by Victoria Kahn. Goodbye, goodbye to summer, for summer's nearly done. The garden smiling faintly, cool breezes in the sun. Our thrushes now are silent, our swallows flown away, but robin's here in coat of brown, and scarlet breast knot gay. Robin, Robin Redbreast, oh Robin dear, Robin sings so sweetly in the falling of the year. Bright yellow, red, and orange, the leaves come down in hosts. The trees are Indian princes, but soon they'll turn to ghosts. The leathery pears and apples hang russet on the bough. It's autumn, autumn, autumn late, 'twill soon be winter now. Robin, Robin Redbreast, oh Robin dear, and what will this poor robin do? For pinching days are near. the fireside for the cricket, the wheat stack for the mouse, when trembling night winds whistle and moan all round the house, the frosty ways like iron, the branches plumed with snow. Alas! In winter dead and dark, where can poor Robin go? Robin, Robin Redbreast, oh Robin dear, and a crumb of bread for Robin. Black Bunny by W. B. Rands. Read for LibriVox by Victoria Kahn. It was a black bunny with white on its head, alive when the children went cozy to bed. Oh, early next morning that bunny was dead. When Bunny's young master awoke from his sleep, to look at the creatures young master did creep, and saw that this black one lay all of a heap. "Oh, Bunny, what ails you? What does it import that you lean on one side with your breath coming short? For I never before saw a thing of the sort." They took him so gently up out of his hutch, they made him a sick bed, they loved him so much. They wrapped him up warm, they said, "Poor thing," and such. But all to no purpose. Black Bunny, he died, and rolled over limp on his little black side. The grown-up spectators looked awkward and sighed, while as for those others in that congregation, you heard voices lifted in sore lamentation. But 3-year-old baby desired explanation, at least so it seemed. Then they buried their dead in a nice quiet place, with a flag at his head. "Poor Bunny," in large print, was what the flag said. Now, as they were shoveling the earth in the hole, little baby burst out, "I don't like it," poor soul, and bitterly wept. So the dead had his dole. That evening, as babe she was cuddling to bed, "The bunny will come back again," baby said, "and be a
The Cow by Anne and Jane Taylor. Read for LibriVox.org by Phil Shempf. Thank you, pretty cow, that made pleasant milk to soak my bread, every day and every night, warm and fresh and sweet and white. Do not chew the hemlock rank, growing on the weedy bank, but the yellow cowslips eat, they will make it very sweet. Where the purple violet grows, where the bubbling water flows, where the
The Skylark by James Hogg. Read for LibriVox by Victoria Kahn. Bird of the wilderness, blithesome and cumberless, sweet be thy matin o'er moorland and lea, emblem of happiness, blessed is thy dwelling place, O to abide in the desert with thee. Wild is thy lay and loud, far in the downy cloud, love gives it energy, love gave it birth. Where on thy dewy wing, where art thou journeying? Thy lay is in heaven, thy love is on earth. O'er fell and fountain sheen, o'er moor and mountain green, o'er the red streamer that heralds the day, o'er the cloudlet dim, o'er the rainbow's rim, musical cherubs soar singing away. Then when the gloaming comes, low in the heather blooms, sweet will thy welcome and bed of love be. Emblem of happiness, blessed is thy dwelling place.
Christmas Eve by John Davidson. By Betty B. Christmas Eve. In holly hedges starving birds silently mourn the setting year. Upright like silver-plated swords the flags stand in the frozen mere. The mistletoe we still adore upon the twisted hawthorn grows. In antique gardens hellebore puts forth its blushing Christmas rose. Shriveled and purple, cheek by jowl, the hips and haws hang drearily. Rolled in a ball, the sulky owl creeps far into his hollow tree. In abbeys and cathedrals dim, the birth of Christ is acted o'er. The kings of Cologne worship him, Balthazar, Jasper, Melchior. The shepherds in the field at night beheld an angel glory clad, and shrank away with sore affright. Be not afraid, the angel bade. I bring good news to king and clown, to you here crouching on the sward. For there is born in David's town a Saviour, which is Christ the Lord. Behold, the babe is swathed and laid within a manger. Straight there stood, beside the angel all arrayed, a heavenly multitude. Glory to God, they sang, and peace, good pleasure among men. The wondrous message of release, glory to God again. Hush! Hark! The waits far up the street, a distant ghostly charm unfolds, of magic music wild and sweet, a gnome. A Christmas Carol by Robert Herric. By Betty B. A Christmas Carol. What sweeter music can we bring than a carol for to sing the birth of this our heavenly King? Awake the voice, awake the stream, heart, ear, and eye, everything. Dark and dull night, fly hence away, and give the honor to this day that sees December turn to May. If we may ask the reason, say the why and wherefore all things here seem like the springtime of the year. Why does the chilling winter's morn smile like a field beset with corn, or smell like to a mead new shorn, thus on the sudden? Come and see the cause why things thus fragrant be. 'Tis he is born whose quickening birth gives light and lustre, public mirth, to heaven and the under earth. We see him come and know him ours, who with his sunshine and his showers turns all the patient ground to flowers. The darling of the world is come, and fit it is we find a room to welcome him. The nobler part of all the house here is the heart, which we will give him, and bequeath this holly and this ivy wreath, to do him honor who's our King and Lord. A Child's Present to His Child Saviour by Robert Herric. By Betty B. A Child's Present to His Child Saviour. Go, pretty child, and bear this flower unto thy little Saviour, and tell him by that bud now blown he is the Rose of Sharon known. When thou hast said so, stick it here upon his bib or stomacher, and tell him for good handsel too, that thou hast brought a whistle new, made of a clean straight oaten reed, to charm his cries at time of need. Tell him for coral thou hast none, but if thou hadst he should have one. But poor thou art, and known to be even as moneyless as he. Lastly, if thou canst win a kiss from these mellifluous lips of his, then never take a second on,
The Peace Giver by A. C. Swinburne. Read for LibriVox by Victoria Kahn. Thou whose birth on earth angels sang to men, while thy stars made mirth, Saviour, at thy birth, this day born again, as this night was bright, with thy cradle ray, very light of light, turn the wild world's night to thy perfect day. Thou, the Word and Lord, in all time and space, heard, beheld, adored, with all ages poured forth before thy face. Lord, what worth in earth drew thee down to die? What therein was worth, Lord, thy death and birth? What beneath thy sky? Thou whose face gives grace as the sun's doth heat, let thy sun-bright face lighten time and space here beneath thy feet. Bid our peace increase, thou that madest morn, bid oppression cease, bid the night be peace. To a Singer by P. B. Shelley. Read for LibriVox by Victoria Kahn. My soul is an enchanted boat, which, like a sleeping swan, doth float upon the silver waves of thy sweet singing. And thine doth like an angel sit beside the helm conducting it, whilst all the winds with melody are ringing. It seems to float ever, for ever, upon that many-winding river, between mountains, woods, abysses, a paradise of wildernesses, till like one in slumber bound, borne to the ocean, I float down around into a sea profound of ever-spreading sound. Meanwhile thy spirit lifts its pinions in music's most serene dominions, catching the winds that fan that happy heaven, and we sail on, away, afar, without a course, without a star, but by the instinct of sweet music driven, till through Elysian garden islets, by thee most beautiful of pilots, where never mortal pinnace glided, the boat of my desire is guided, realms where the air we breathe is love, which in the winds on the waves doth move, harmonizing this earth.
The Happy Piper by William Blake. Read for LibriVox.org by Leonard Wilson of Springfield, Ohio. Piping down the valleys wild, piping songs of pleasant glee, on a cloud I saw a child, and he laughing said to me, "Pipe a song about a lamb." So I piped with merry cheer, "Piper, pipe that song again." So I piped, he wept to hear. "Drop thy pipe, thy happy pipe, sing thy songs of happy cheer." So I sang the same again, while he wept with joy to hear. "Piper, sit thee down and write in a book that all may read." So he vanished from my sight, and I plucked a hollow reed, and I made a rural pen, and I stained the water clear, and I wrote my happy songs every The Destruction of Sennacherib by Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by Leonard Wilson of Springfield, Ohio. The Assyrian came down like a wolf on the fold, and his cohorts were gleaming in purple and gold, and the sheen of their spears was like stars on the sea, when the blue wave rolls nightly on deep Galilee. Like the leaves of the forest when summer is green, that host with their banners at sunset were seen. Like the leaves of the forest when autumn hath blown, that host on the morrow lay withered and strown. Or the angel of death spread his wings on the blast, and breathed in the face of the foe as he passed, and the eyes of the sleepers waxed deadly and chill, and their hearts but once heaved, and for ever grew still. And there lay the steed with his nostril all wide, but through it there rolled not the breath of his pride, and the foam of his gasping lay white on the turf, and cold as the spray of the rock-beating surf. And there lay the rider, distorted and pale, with the dew on his brow and the rust on his mail. And the tents were all silent, the banners alone, the lances unlifted, the trumpet unblown. And the widows of Asher are loud in their wail, and the idols are broke in the temple of Baal, and the might of the Gentile, unsmote by the sword, hath melted like snow.
Sheridan's Ride by Thomas Buchanan Reed. Read for LibriVox by Victoria Kahn. Up from the south at break of day, bringing to Winchester fresh dismay, the affrighted air with a shudder bore, like a herald in haste, to the chieftain's door. The terrible grumble and rumble and roar, telling the battle was on once more, and Sheridan 20 miles away. And wilder still those billows of war thundered along the horizon's bar, and louder yet into Winchester rolled the roar of that Red Sea uncontrolled, making the blood of the listener cold, as he thought of the stake in that fiery fray, with Sheridan 20 miles away. But there is a road from Winchester town, a good broad highway leading down, and there, through the flash of the morning light, a steed as black as the steeds of night was seen to pass as with eagle flight. As if he knew the terrible need, he stretched away with his utmost speed. Hills rose and fell, but his heart was gay, with Sheridan 15 miles away. Still sprang from those swift hoofs, thundering south, the dust like the smoke from the cannon's mouth, or the trail of a comet sweeping faster and faster, foreboding to traitors the doom of disaster. The heart of the steed and the heart of the master were beating like prisoners assaulting their walls, impatient to be where the battlefield calls. Every nerve of the charger was strained to full play, with Sheridan only 10 miles away. The first that the general saw was the groups of stragglers, and then the retreating troops. What was done, what to do, a glance told them both, and striking his spurs with a terrible oath, he dashed down the line mid a storm of huzzas, and the wave of retreat checked its course there, because the sight of the master compelled it to pause. With foam and with dust the black charger was gray. By the flash of his eye and his red nostrils' play, he seemed to the whole great army to say, I have brought you Sheridan, all the way from Winchester town to save the day. Hurrah, hurrah for Sheridan! Hurrah, hurrah for horse and man! And when their statues are placed on high under the dome of the Union sky, the American soldier's temple of fame, there with the glorious general's name, be it said in letters both bold and bright, here is the steed that saved the day by carrying Sheridan.
Columbus by Joaquin Miller. Read for LibriVox.org by Phil Schampf. Behind him lay the grey Azores, behind the gates of Hercules. Before him not the ghost of shores, before him only shoreless seas. The good mate said, Now we must pray, for lo, the very stars are gone. Brave Admiral, speak, what shall I say? Why, say, sail on and on. My men grow mutinous day by day, my men grow ghastly, wan and weak. The stout mate thought of home, a spray of salt wave washed his swarthy cheek. What shall I say, brave Admiral, say, if we sight not but seas at dawn? Why, you should say at break of day, sail on, sail on, sail on and on. They sailed and sailed as winds might blow, until at last the blanched mate said, Why, now not even God would know, should I and all my men fall dead. These very winds forget their way, for God from these dread seas is gone. Now speak, brave Admiral, speak and say. He said, sail on and on. They sailed. Then spake the mate, This mad sea shows his teeth tonight. He curls his lip, he lies in wait, he lifts his teeth as if to bite. Brave Admiral, say but one good word. What shall we do when hope is gone? The words leapt like a leaping sword. Sail on, sail on, sail on and on. Then pale and worn he paced his deck, and peered through darkness, that night, of all dark nights, and then a speck. A light, at last a light! It grew, a star-lit flag unfurled. It grew to be time's burst of dawn. He gained a world, he gave that world.
Horatius by Lord Macaulay, read for LibriVox.org by Leonard Wilson of Springfield, Ohio. Macaulay's Lays of Ancient Rome, of which this is the first, deal only with the legends that Rome in her greatness liked to tell concerning her early beginnings. Unfortunately, there is no similar group of poems treating of imperial Rome, the center of a world empire. But children must please not think of the mistress of the world purely as a little riverside town, which could free itself from outside trouble by chopping down a wooden bridge. Horatius. Lars Porsena of Clusium, by the 9 gods he swore that the great house of Tarquin should suffer wrong no more. By the 9 gods he swore it, and named a trysting day, and bade his messengers ride forth, east and west and south and north, to summon his array. East and west and south and north the messengers ride fast, and tower and town and cottage have heard the trumpets blast. Shame on the false Etruscan who lingers in his home when Porsena of Clusium is on the march for Rome. The horsemen and the footmen are pouring in amain from many a stately market-place, from many a fruitful plain, from many a lonely hamlet, which hid by beech and pine, like an eagle's nest hangs on the crest of purple Apennine. From lordly Volaterrae, where scowls the far-famed hold, piled by the hands of giants for godlike kings of old. From sea-girt Populonia, whose sentinels descry Sardinia's snowy mountain-tops fringing the southern sky. From the proud Marta Pisa, queen of the western waves, where ride Massilia's triremes, heavy with fair-haired slaves. From where sweet Clanis wanders through corn and vines and flowers, from where Cortona lifts to heaven her diadem of towers. Tall are the oaks whose acorns drop in dark Auser's rill. Fat are the stags that champ the boughs of the Ciminian hill. Beyond all streams Clitumnus is to the herdsman dear. Best of all pools, the fowler loves the great Volsinian mere. But now no stroke of woodman is heard by Auser's rill. No hunter tracks the stag's green path up the Ciminian hill. Unwatched along Clitumnus grazes the milk-white steer. Unharmed the waterfowl may dip in the Volsinian mere. The harvests of Aricium this year old men shall reap. This year young boys in Umbro shall plunge the struggling sheep. And in the vats of Luna this year the must shall foam round the white feet of laughing girls whose sires have marched to Rome. There be 30 chosen prophets, the wisest of the land, who always by Lars Porsena both morn and evening stand. Evening and morn the 30 have turned the verses o'er, traced from the right on linen white by mighty seers of yore. And with one voice the 30 have their glad answer given. Go forth, Lars Porsena, go forth, beloved of heaven. Go and return in glory to Clusium's royal dome, and hang round Nursia's altars the golden shields of Rome. And now hath every city sent up her tale of men. The foot are 80,000, the horse are thousands 10. Before the gates of Sutrium is met the great array. A proud man was Lars Porsena upon the trysting day. For all the Etruscan armies were ranged beneath his eye, and many a banished Roman, and many a stout ally. And with a mighty following to join the muster came the Tusculan Mamilius, prince of the Latian name. But by the yellow Tiber was tumult and affright. From all the spacious champaign to Rome men took their flight. A mile around the city the throng stopped up the ways. A fearful sight it was to see through 2 long nights and days. For aged folk on crutches, and women great with child, and mothers sobbing over babes that clung to them and smiled, and sick men borne in litters high on the necks of slaves, and troops of sunburned husbandmen with reaping hooks and staves, and droves of mules and asses laden with skins of wine, and endless flocks of goats and sheep, and endless herds of kine, and endless trains of wagons that creaked beneath the weight of corn sacks and of household goods, choked every roaring gate. Now from the rock Tarpeian could the wan burghers spy the line of blazing villages, red in the midnight sky. The fathers of the city, they sat all night and day, for every hour some horseman came with tidings of dismay. To eastward and to westward have spread the Tuscan bands, nor house, nor fence, nor dovecote, and Christumarium stands. Verbenna down to Ostia hath wasted all the plain. Astur hath stormed Janiculum, and the stout guards are slain. I wis in all the Senate there was no heart so bold, but sore it ached and fast it beat when that ill news was told. Forthwith up rose the consul, up rose the fathers all. In haste they girded up their gowns, and hied them to the wall. They held a council standing before the river gate. Short time was there, ye well may guess, for musings or debate. Out spake the consul roundly, "The bridge must straight go down, for since Janiculum is lost, naught else can save the town." Just then a scout came flying, all wild with haste and fear. To arms, Sir Consul! Large Porcina is here!" On the low hills to westward the consul fixed his eye, and saw the swarthy storm of dust rise fast along the sky. And nearer fast and nearer doth the red whirlwind come, and louder still, and still more loud, from underneath that rolling cloud is heard the trumpet's war note proud, the trampling and the hum. And plainly and more plainly now through the gloom appears, far to left and far to right, in broken gleams of dark blue light, the long array of helmets bright, the long array of spears. And plainly and more plainly above that glimmering line, now might ye see the banners of 12 fair cities shine. But the banner of proud Clusium was highest of them all, the terror of the Umbrian, the terror of the Gaul. And plainly and more plainly now might the burghers know, by port and vest, by horse and crest, each warlike Lucumo. There's Cilnius of Arretium, on his fleet roan was seen, and Astur of the fourfold shield, girt with the brand none else may wield, Tolumnius with the belt of gold, and dark Verbenna from the hold by reedy Thrasymene. Fast by the royal standard, o'erlooking all the war, Lars Porcina of Clusium sat in his ivory car. By the right wheel rode Mamilius, prince of the Latian name, and by the left false Sextus, that wrought the deed of shame. But when the face of Sextus was seen among the foes, a yell that rent the firmament from all the town arose. On the housetops was no woman but spat towards him and hissed, no child but screamed out curses and shook its little fist. But the consul's brow was sad, and the consul's speech was low, and darkly looked he at the wall, and darkly at the foe. "Their van will be upon us before the bridge goes down, and if they once may win the bridge, what hope to save the town?" Then out spake brave Horatius, the captain of the gate, "To every man upon this earth death cometh soon or late, and how can man die better than facing fearful odds for the ashes of his fathers and the temples of his gods, and for the tender mother who dandled him to rest, and for the wife who nurses his baby at her breast, and for the holy maidens who feed the eternal flame, to save them from false Sextus, that wrought the deed of shame. Hew down the bridge, Sir Consul, with all the speed ye may. I, with 2 more to help me, will hold the foe in play. In yon straight path 1,000 may well be stopped by 3. Now who will stand on either hand, and keep the bridge with me? Then outspake Spurius Lartius, a Ramnian proud was he. Lo, I will stand at thy right hand, and keep the bridge with thee. And outspake strong Herminius, of Titian blood was he. I will bide on my left side, and keep the bridge with thee. Horatius, quoth the consul, as thou sayest, so let it be. And straight against that great array forth went the dauntless 3. For Romans in Rome's quarrel spared neither land nor gold, nor son nor wife, nor limb nor life, in the brave days of old. Then none was for a party, then all were for the state. Then the great man helped the poor, and the poor man loved the great. Then lands were fairly portioned, then spoils were fairly sold. The Romans were like brothers in the brave days of old. Now Roman is to Roman more hateful than a foe, and the tribunes beard the high, and the fathers grind the low. As we wax hot in faction, in battle we wax cold. Wherefore men fight not as they fought in the brave days of old. Now while the 3 were tightening their harness on their backs, the consul was the foremost man to take in hand an axe. And fathers mixed with commons seized hatchet, bar, and crow, and smote upon the planks above, and loosed the props below. Meanwhile the Tuscan army, right glorious to behold, came flashing back the noonday light, rank behind rank, like surges bright of a broad sea of gold. 400 trumpets sounded, a peal of warlike glee, as that great host with measured tread, and spears advanced and ensigns spread, rolled slowly towards the bridge's head, where stood the dauntless 3. The 3 stood calm and silent, and looked upon the foes, and a great shout of laughter from all the vanguard rose. And forth 3 chiefs came spurring before that deep array. To earth they sprang, their swords they drew, and lifted high their shields, and flew to win the narrow way. Aunus from green Tifernum, lord of the hill of vines, and Sais, whose 800 slaves sicken in Ilva's mines, and Picus, long to Clusium vassal in peace and war, who led to fight his Umbrian powers from that grey crag where, girt with towers, the fortress of Nequinum lowers o'er the pale waves of Nar. Stout Lartius hurled down Aunus into the stream beneath. Herminius struck at Sais and clove him to the teeth. At Picus brave Horatius darted one fiery thrust, and the proud Umbrian's gilded arms clashed in the bloody dust. Then Ocnus of Falerii rushed on the Roman 3, and Lausulus of Urgo, the rover of the sea, and Arruns of Volsinium, who slew the great wild boar that had his den amidst the reeds of Cosa's fen, and wasted fields and slaughtered men along Albinia's shore. Herminius smote down Arruns, Lartius laid Ocnus low. Right to the heart of Lausulus Horatius sent a blow. "Lie there," he cried, "fell pirate! No more aghast and pale from Ostia's walls the crowd shall mark the track of thy destroying bark. No more Campania's hinds shall fly to woods and caverns when they spy thy thrice accursed sail. But now no sound of laughter was heard amongst the foes. A wild and wrathful clamour from all the vanguard rose. 6 spears' lengths from the entrance halted that deep array, and for a space no man came forth to win the narrow way. But hark! the cry is, Astur! And lo, the ranks divide, and the great Lord of Luna comes with his stately stride. Upon his ample shoulders clangs loud the fourfold shield, and in his hand he shakes the brand which none but he can wield. He smiled on those bold Romans, a smile serene and high. He eyed the flinching Tuscans, and scorn was in his eye. Quoth he, "The she-wolf's litter stands savagely at bay, but will ye dare to follow if Astur clears the way?" Then whirling up his broadsword with both hands to the height, he rushed against Horatius, and smote with all his might. With shield and blade Horatius right deftly turned the blow. The blow, though turned, came yet too nigh. It missed his helm, but gashed his thigh. The Tuscans raised a joyful cry to see the red blood flow. He reeled, and on Herminius he leaned one breathing space, then like a wildcat mad with wounds sprang right at Astur's face. Through teeth and skull and helmet so fierce a thrust he sped, the good sword stood a handbreadth out behind the Tuscan's head. And the great Lord of Luna fell at that deadly stroke, as falls on Mount Alvernus a thunder-smitten oak. Far o'er the crashing forest the giant arms lie spread, and the pale augurs, muttering low, gaze on the blasted head. On Astur's throat Horatius right firmly pressed his heel, and thrice and 4 times tugged amain, ere he wrenched out the steel. "And see," cried he, "the welcome, fair guests, that waits you here. What noble Lucumo comes next to taste our Roman cheer?" But at his haughty challenge a sullen murmur ran, mingled of wrath and shame and dread, along that glittering van. There lacked not men of prowess, nor men of lordly race, for all Etruria's noblest were round the fatal place. But all Etruria's noblest felt their hearts sink to see on the earth the bloody corpses, in the path the dauntless 3. And from the ghastly entrance where those bold Romans stood, all shrank, like boys who, unaware, ranging the woods to start a hare, come to the mouth of the dark lair where, growling low, a fierce old bear lies amidst bones and blood. Was none who would be foremost to lead such dire attack, but those behind cried, "Forward!" and those before cried, "Back!" And backward now and forward wavers the deep array, and on the tossing sea of steel to and fro the standards reel, and the victorious trumpet peal dies fitfully away. Yet one man for one moment strode out before the crowd. Well known was he to all the 3, and they gave him greeting loud. "Now welcome, welcome, Sextus, now welcome to thy home. Why dost thou stay and turn away? Here lies the road to Rome." Thrice looked he at the city, thrice looked he at the dead, and thrice came on in fury, and thrice turned back in dread, and white with fear and hatred scowled at the narrow way where, wallowing in a pool of blood, the bravest Tuscans lay. But meanwhile axe and lever have manfully been plied, and now the bridge hangs tottering above the boiling tide. Come back, Horatius! loud cried the fathers all. Back, Lartius, back, Herminius, back, ere the ruin fall. Back darted Spurius Lartius, Herminius darted back, and as they passed, beneath their feet they felt the timbers crack. But when they turned their faces, and on the farther shore saw brave Horatius stand alone, they would have crossed once more. But with a crash like thunder fell every loosened beam, and like a dam the mighty wreck lay right athwart the stream. And a long shout of triumph rose from the walls of Rome, as to the highest turret tops was splashed the yellow foam. And like a horse unbroken, when first he feels the rein, the furious river struggled hard, and tossed his tawny mane, and burst the curb, and bounded, rejoicing to be free, and whirling down in fierce career, battlement and plank and pier rushed headlong to the sea. Alone stood brave Horatius, but constant still in mind, thrice 30,000 foes before, and the broad flood behind. "Down with him!" cried false Sextus, with a smile on his pale face. "Now yield thee!" cried Lars Porsena, "now yield thee to our grace." Round turned he, as not deigning those craven ranks to see. Naught spake he to Lars Porsena, to Sextus naught spake he. But he saw on Palatinus the white porch of his home, and he spake to the noble river that rolls by the towers of Rome. "O Tiber, Father Tiber, to whom the Romans pray, a Roman's life, a Roman's arms, take thou in charge this day." So he spake, and speaking sheathed the good sword by his side, and with his harness on his back plunged headlong in the tide. No sound of joy or sorrow was heard from either bank, but friends and foes in dumb surprise, with parted lips and straining eyes, stood gazing where he sank. And when above the surges they saw his crest appear, all Rome sent forth a rapturous cry, and even the ranks of Tuscany could scarce forbear to cheer. But fiercely ran the current, swollen high by months of rain, and fast his blood was flowing, and he was sore in pain, and heavy with his armor, and spent with changing blows, and oft they thought him sinking, but still again he rose. Never, I ween, did swimmer in such an evil case struggle through such a raging flood, safe to the landing place. But his limbs were borne up bravely by the brave heart within, and our good Father Tiber bare bravely up his chin. "Curse on him," quoth false Sextus, "will not the villain drown? But for this stay, ere close of day, we should have sacked the town." "Heaven help him," quoth Lars Porsena, "and bring him safe to shore, for such a gallant feat of arms was never seen before." And now he feels the bottom, now on dry earth he stands, now round him throng the fathers to press his gory hands, and now with shouts and clapping and noise of weeping loud he enters through the river gate, borne by the joyous crowd. They gave him of the cornland that was of public right as much as 2 strong oxen could plough from morn till night, and they made a molten image and set it up on high, and there it stands unto this day, to witness if I lie. It stands in the Comitium plain for all folk to see, Horatius in his harness, halting upon one knee, and underneath is written in letters all of gold, how valiantly he kept the bridge in the brave days of old. And still his name sounds stirring unto the men of Rome, as the trumpet blast that cries to them to charge the Volscian home. And wives still pray to Juno for boys with hearts as bold as his, who kept the bridge so well in the brave days of old. And in the nights of winter, when the cold north winds blow, and the long howling of the wolves is heard amidst the snow, when round the lonely cottage roars loud the tempest din, and the good logs of Algidus roar louder yet within, when the oldest cask is opened, and the largest lamp is lit, when the chestnuts glow in the embers, and the kid turns on the spit, when young and old encircle around the firebrand's close, when the girls are weaving baskets, and the lads are shaping bows, when the good man mends his armor and trims his helmet's plume, when the good wife's shuttle merrily goes flashing through the loom, with weeping and with laughter, still is the story told, how well Horatius kept the bridge in the brave days of old. End of poem. This